A particularly powerful force that affects people every day, though it often goes unnoticed, is the power of the media. We're all somewhat aware of it, but news reports, conversations, movies, hell, even this video and pretty much every one and thing you interact with affects you in some way, even if it's unconscious. This phenomenon is the focus of the 2004 anime, Paranoia Agent, appropriately the product of Studio Madhouse. The mystery, psychological thriller show is split into 13 episodes, starting with the catalyst, Tsukiko Sagi, a reserved character designer under ridiculous pressure to come up with a new character after creating the immensely popular Marumi, a pink talking dog. On her way home, the stressed woman is attacked by what appears to be a teenager with golden roller skates and a crooked baseball bat. She survives to tell the leading detectives about the assault, and the attacker is dubbed by the media as Lil Slugger. It isn't long before attacks by Little Slugger become increasingly frequent, and the detectives must quickly apprehend this serial attacker. Yet, their search proves to be difficult, since the victims are often, well, unreliable, and the fear keeps growing among the masses. I'm gonna say it right off the bat. Paranoia Agent is a very good anime, and one that you should probably check out since it could be finished within a couple of dedicated nights. Although there are a lot of reasons I can recommend it, it doesn't have a wide appeal, so I'll go over my thoughts about the plot, no spoilers here, and you can decide for yourself. The first interesting thing about Paranoia Agent is the lack of a protagonist. Sure, I guess you can call the detectives protagonists in a way since they spend a lot of the anime in confusion, like the audience, but most of the show focuses on our particular character's wretched life and then their assault via crooked bat, as the whole show is basically a descent into madness, and an exaggerated exploration of the horrible things that define us as people in modernity. You spend each episode playing the detective, figuring out more details about Little Slugger, and watching things escalate in a very well-paced, very suspenseful mystery plot. Though you'll probably deduce the identity of Little Slugger rather early, the ride itself is dark and twisted, with many eerily relatable characters and issues, but the series certainly has its humorous moments scattered even within the most intense moments, which was certainly well implemented and an interesting choice. The black humor is abundant in this show, with my favorite example being episode 8, Happy Planning Family, and even though it's probably the least related to the events of the plot, the episode plays out like a bizarre, terrifying, though also somehow hilarious little short in itself. It was probably my favorite episode aside from the finale, just for the fact that it was good enough to be a short film on itself. What I loved and hated the most about Paranoia Agent was how it constantly blurred the lines between an objective viewpoint and the subjective viewpoint of the characters. You, the viewer, are challenged to decide not just if you're watching an illusion, delusion, or reality, but you must also deduce whose perspective this is and what that says about the characters. The series is filled with a lot of symbolisms, gaps open to interpretation, and though it certainly has a pessimistic overtone, it ultimately leaves you to decide whether the ending is optimistic or not. Yeah, the show can be very cryptic, but it's not stupidly WTF material, being able to balance out the fine line between unbearably confusing and simply open to interpretation. The catastrophic event in the finale did go a little overboard though, being just one example of many times where the anime goes a little too far with its symbolism. Still, it's not unreasonable to follow if you pay enough attention, and creating a story that can do that while still expressing its message is very rare, and definitely a plus of the series. In case you haven't deduced it from the footage, premise, or even the title, Paranoia Agent is a social satire, questioning our ways of life and the struggles we all go through. In this respect, I was a tad disappointed with the overall message. I can't disclose the thesis statement of the entire anime without spoiling, but I think it was a very overdone message for an adult anime like this one, especially with so much build-up. Still, sometimes simple is powerful, and in the case of this anime, it's still an important message, and in addition, was very well done. In terms of the animation, I don't have any complaints. They created an excellent, claustrophobic, dark feel throughout the anime, and they did a great job of getting the viewer in the minds of these people, even if it was sometimes too literal or overblown sometimes. The character designs weren't anything special, but I definitely think this was done to mirror the idea that these characters are like everyday people. Not fantastical, but relatable. Except for this guy who looks like a frog. Everything else was on par for the course here, so no complaints. The music in the series wasn't very memorable, aside from the brilliant opening and the equally chilling ending theme. And it didn't really stand out aside from a couple of songs, but that's not really the point. The soundtrack complemented the suspense and made frequent use of contrapuntal themes to create a simultaneous sense of dread and some humor, so no issues here, it was well done. The voice acting almost isn't worth commenting on. I went with the dub, and the best compliment I could give it is that it sounded very natural and I didn't notice anything wrong. Everyone did a good job, and I honestly found it to be a great dub. That's it. Yeah, sub versus dub isn't really an issue with me most of the time. In conclusion, Paranoia Agent is a very well done mystery thriller anime, though somewhat difficult to recommend to everybody. The main mystery story is compelling and well paced, the characters and their struggles are relatable, tragic, and compelling, and it's an intellectually stimulating anime. On the flip side, it can be pretty confusing at some points and often lacks subtlety due to blunt symbolism, but this can probably be solved by a rewatch. If you can handle the mature themes, bleak tone, and dark humor, then I definitely suggest that you give this one a shot. Thanks for watching.